And we're back with Survivor 42 and 42. I am joined today by McKenna. McKenna, what made you, before I go into my, I guess, spiel about Survivor Palau, what made you want to do this season as your first season on this trek with me?
Well, I was like, hey, I love Survivor and can pretty much talk about anything except I hate Nicaragua, so don't make me do that. Um, so you're like, what about Palau? And I was just like, let's go. So Palau it is.
Uh, and I have this in the description. What Vanuatu was to me 2 days ago is what the opposite of what Palau was to me yesterday and this morning.
I love Vanuatu.
I I was drunkenly praising Vanuatu in our last episode, and today I'm soberly saying that I don't get the Palau love. Now, I didn't hate the season by any means. I probably put it in the middle, like smack dab in the middle. But the season really dragged at the beginning. I can't. I just finished, and I can't name all but like three people that were on Oolong, maybe four. Um, I They didn't matter. The guy that broke his ankle or twisted his
Jeff.
knee, or I think he was. Is he Jonathan? Or was the other guy Jonathan? No, he was Jeff.
Jeff.
And then his
Katie.
Bay
I
was
think it was
Kim.
another Kim.
Yeah.
Kim
It's just it. The problem that they ran into, and I think that Jeff actually started to catch on to the fact that, hey, this tribe might not actually win. And so he stopped asking them, what do you have to do to not end up here? I think around the final four, final five of Oolong, he would ask that consistently. And then all of a sudden it's, you guys are back against the wall. What's going to happen? It's like, yeah, we know what's going to happen, Jeff. I think we get it.
Yeah.
He goes out of his way to antagonize a lot of people this season, which is fun because we're in that era of Jeff antagonizing people. It's what he does. But on the other side, we have the Koror tribe who, as much as we love certain individuals on the tribe, this time around, a lot of them came off as like overly annoying. So what were your thoughts on both tribes? And did you ever find yourself rooting for one specific tribe over the other, or was it just like, I wish Oolong would win at least one?
So my first season watching live was Millennials versus Gen X. So like I am newer into the game of like watching live, but I have since watched every season at least probably 3 times. So I kind of knew going into Palau that like the one tribe was going to be decimated. So it was just kind of intriguing. How does this happen? Because they have to like win at least one, and they win, one of the best rewards, Survivor Pringles.
Yeah. Oh, yes. They won 3 reward challenges, which I actually did not remember happening. I just thought they got wiped off the map, like Matt Singh wise, like
Yeah.
Matt Singh. I didn't realize that they actually won 3 challenges this season, and I was surprised.
It was just never the right ones.
It was never the right ones. And it sucked because the first time I watched this, I really, I was really, besides Ibrahim, who I'm obligated to root for, I really enjoyed a lot of people on the Oolong tribe. Obviously the ones that made it far. So Bobby John,
Angie.
But I was really rooting for Bobby John, and I felt horrible for Stephanie at the time.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Stephanie, and I think that Survivor.
You're in company.
I think that Survivor like realized, in Heroes versus Villains, okay, she's not really a hero, but if people didn't watch Guatemala, let's just hope they didn't, and we'll just say, yeah, she was the biggest hero in Palau. And in retrospect, much like when I said in Australian Outback about Kucha, it's like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't have been rooting for this person, but I was a stupid kid.
I mean, listen, I love James Miller, and he's one of the most like
Oh my God,
toxic
yeah.
people on the cast. But his one-liners are hilarious, and as someone who is gay, like his lines about like Kobe, I think are
There was so
hilarious.
much respect to it.
Horrible.
Well, and I felt the same way about James, where it's like it's almost the Clay effect from Thailand, where it's like
Yeah.
everything in my person should say I should hate you and everything that you're saying, but no matter how problematic things that you're saying are, I find myself enjoying your confessionals because ooh look, goofy redneck that doesn't know anything. Anytime he would try to like strategize with people for challenges, he would use these big words that don't make sense in the context he was using them, or he would use words that just don't make sense because they don't exist. But yeah, his confessionals about Ibrahim, his confessionals about Kobe. It's like, it's not problematic to a point where it's like, I hate this guy. It's just like, oh, I see why they casted him. They needed funny redneck. Here's one. And now he's wearing like a potato sack towards the end. And I was happy he left when he did. So he didn't overstay his welcome.
Yes.
I did want Ibrahim to stay longer, and I was hoping that they would win the challenge to at least get him to the merge. Sucks to suck. And
Bobby John was probably hoping the same thing.
Yeah, I'm glad that they did bring Bobby John back. The one season that they did, I think that he didn't have time to fully flesh out anything because he couldn't. But I'm glad that they did. I guess I'm glad that they brought Stephanie back. Once again, in retrospect, at the time, I love that they brought her back. So what did you think of Stephanie as the player? I know you said you have thoughts. What did you think of Stephanie as the player and the character this season? And why do you think they have buried her second time around before she got to Heroes vs. Villains?
Well, they're forcing you to like her in this season. It is really the thing because of the whole underdog story, like the music, the narrative, no matter like what she might say, like they're kind of forcing you to like her with the edit where she might have been like the same exact person she was in Guatemala, but they just cut that out because that wasn't the storyline.
Yeah.
So I feel like she is who she is in whatever season you put her on. It's just the editing magic of how you can turn her in a different light.
And I know I'm jumping the gun here by like 10 seasons, but I know every time I watch Heroes vs. Villains, it's always like, wow, James is really laying into this woman. Do you feel like they kind of did the same thing in Heroes vs. Villains where we're not going to show any of this stuff to make James look like an asshole whenever he's doing this? Or do you think, because James is also someone that gets the negative positive treatment depending on what season he's on. Do you think it was just two negative people clashing? Or do you think that a lot of the stuff, just your own opinion, this is not anything that we know or don't know?
I think both people can be in the wrong at the same time. So I feel like while James was like very harsh with it, I don't think Stephanie did absolutely nothing to warrant it. So like there's kind of give and take with that situation of just like, well, James can be a dick, but so can Stephanie.
So can Stephanie. And I'm about halfway through the reunion for Palau right now, so I'm getting right into Guatemala after this. And I just from what I remember of Guatemala before, it's one of those seasons where I'm excited to rewatch it because I hope that I have a higher opinion on it. This much like Vanuatu, where I didn't have the highest opinion on Vanuatu the first few times I watched it, and this last time it was amazing. So I'm hoping that's what happens with Guatemala, even though I do remember not liking Stephanie at all this season and actually preferring Judd over her, which is insane.
Listen, all you have to do is focus on Lydia and everything will be fine.
Lydia, the Karen of Guatemala.
No, don't
Karen
even dare compare Lydia to Karen.
I liked Karen. I liked Karen. The Karen was one of the few people that I actually was rooting for towards the end of this time around, even though I know she doesn't win, because she played her role right when they were going to blindside Greg. She went to that tribal where she knew she was going home. Her and Jen both went to that tribal where they knew they were going home and tried to blow things up and to say, hey, this is how it is. And I think they are responsible for everything that happens with Ian versus Katie versus Tom, where I feel like if they don't blow up Ian's game, there is a very large chance that it is potentially Ian versus Tom sitting at the end. But because they sat there and said, yeah, Ian's been trying to screw you guys for a while, and Tom and his holier than thou attitude, it's not as bad as Rupert. His attitude is not as bad as Rupert.
As bad as Rupert.
You're right. But I did find myself a little bit, being annoyed with him at certain parts this season. And I would love whenever Kobe would roll his eyes, whenever Tom would say something at Tribal Council. What were your thoughts on Tom?
I like Kobe as a character, and I do find myself rooting for him. But overall, I think Tom is a good winner. He had such dominant control over the tribe. He was only vulnerable 3 tribal councils out of every tribal council. So I think he just played such a dominant game that I think he should be rewarded for it, because, they had their chance to get him out 3 times and just chose not to.
Yeah, I said this during my Thailand episode. I don't know how I keep bringing up Thailand in every single one of these. I hate it, but in the Thailand episode, I said that Richard Hatch, Brian, and then my co-host at the time said that it was and Tom, to add Tom in there as far as the most dominant winners in the first 10 seasons. Mm-hmm. And my rationale for the first 2 is pretty much my rationale for Tom, except for Tom had the extra benefit of winning all of these immunities. But Richard had full control in a season where no one knew how to play, so we'll give him the pass. Brian had full control in a season full of sociopaths, so praise to him. Good job on Brian's end for being head sociopath. And then Tom, I feel like, put everything together. He put the social, the strategic, and the physical together, and had probably the most dominant first time win until Kim. I feel like Tom is. I feel like Tom is a good winner. I feel like Tom was sitting next to the right person at the end because, and we talked about this before we went live. That jury hated Katie. They all felt like she, was a horrible person to them at camp. They felt like she was worthless, which I didn't feel good that they were saying that about her, at least. But a lot of people spoke throughout the season that they didn't like Katie, that they didn't like her attitude towards them. So it's not like this was bitter juror being bitter. They had spoken about this before they had gotten voted out by her. Do you think there is a situation in this season, just merge-wise, where Katie potentially gets more than 2 votes? Or just wins? Do you think there is a person that she could potentially win against?
Karen and Janu. Maybe Kobe. But because of the whole Kobe was on the outside of that inner Karor alliance, I think those are the only 3 where Katie gets the upper hand. But I feel like other people can talk. So
Kobe can talk. So yeah, I feel like
exactly. So he might be able to convince people at final tribal council, but Katie would go in with the lead at that specific tribal council. But what did Janu do besides quit? So if she got to the end, she would have been dragged
on Exile Island.
Okay,
she knew how significant it would be. She knew how significant it would be down the line. So, Janu's
and then that experience was so bad she quit.
Well, no, it was so good that she felt good about quitting because she got out. She got what she needed out of it, which was a weird way of saying I quit. I didn't like the way that Katie treated Janu. I didn't like the way that Katie treated others. But do you think that Katie knew going in, I'm screwed, so I might as well just antagonize everyone while I'm on the jury because it doesn't matter. When Janu asked her question, Janu's question wasn't even, Janu was actually one of the least bitter people here and asked her a very simple question, 3 positive and negatives that you think you brought to the game. And Katie says, I'm not going to get your vote anyway, so I'm not going to answer it. It's like, well, okay, that's definitely a
that
move.
would have sent me as another juror being like, you're not getting my vote either. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand. I understand being, I understand standing your ground. I do
Yeah.
feel like a lot of finalists feel obligated to sit there and let people bully them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Katie, I don't think Katie realized that, hey, like some of these people are actually not trying to bully you. They actually just want an answer.
Yeah.
And you're not giving it to them. And so I'm not going to say she threw it because no one throws $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like she kind of knew I'm not going to beat Tom. I know my back's
Don't
against the
just
wall.
shoot your shot, though. You never know how someone's gonna vote.
Exactly. You didn't think that. There's no way she thought she was going to get Kobe's vote.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they like. I'm pretty sure they bring it up at the reunion that why Kobe doesn't vote for Tom ultimately. But there are people like Jen that you could potentially get Jen's vote if you play the "you are my best friend here" card. Like she said during Rites of Passage, she said, "Jen was my best friend out here. I needed her." Blah blah blah. I feel like she had gone down that road. Maybe she gets Jen's vote. Maybe she gets Karen or Janu's vote by apologizing as well as actually answering their questions.
Yes.
So that's 3. She's not getting Ian's vote because Ian has a crush on Tom.
Right.
She's not getting Stephanie because Stephanie hates women. And and she gets Coach. Oh, so maybe she does beat Tom in an alternate reality.
I don't want to live in that reality.
Or Katie beats Tom 6-1.
Jeez,
So as we start to wind down, like I said, I'm not gonna say disappointed because who am I, but I find myself being disappointed at this rewatch of this season. I have such high and big memories about it, and the fact that it was able to bore me to the point where I didn't want to finish it last night kind of is a testament to how I was feeling throughout it. Now, thankfully, it is better than All Stars, or All Stars and Thailand, but Thailand doesn't count. So really the low bar right now is All Stars for me out of these first 10 seasons, because Thailand I gave it like a 1.5 out of 5. I'm going to give this one probably about a 3.5 out of 5. I think that it did have some interesting endgame things. They did add some good characters. I think the winner is dominant. I think the runner-up is fun in her own way. I think the final 3 challenge, which I'm thankful they've never brought back, but I think that was a good bookend to the long-term endurance challenges.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure after this, any endurance challenge they have at final 3 or 4, there is some type of cap. Like I think in Guatemala was the one where they had to like stand in the little thingy thing, in the heroes versus villains Tocantins box thing. Do you know what I'm talking about? The one that Coach collapsed on in Tocantins.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the final 3 challenge in Guatemala.
It's sort of the same. It's 2 poles, and you have to stand between, like, they're like just poles, and you have to. Like,
yes. But there was some type of cap to it, right? Like they have to shift.
There was like rope drop, like there was a balance rope that you could hold on to, and then at like intervals, things would happen to make you lose. But like in this one, there was no intervals of like, all right, at a certain point, we're gonna make you do this. At a certain point, we're gonna make you do that to like cut it short. It was literally just hold on to this.
Just hold on to this. And I do think that Ian and Tom would have sat out there all night if they had to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think this is the perfect end to the long-term endurance challenges where the person that literally just makes a deal jumps off. Which I think this is the perfect one. But McKenna, thank you so much for waking up early to come on and do this. The Palau reunion is going off now, so I'm going to go right into Guatemala. We will have McKenna back.
Cook Islands.
For Cook Islands?
Yeah.
I need to look at my schedule. But we're going to have McKenna back, so that's at the end of the week. Hopefully, what's today? Tuesday? What's today? I don't know what today is.
Today's Tuesday. No, Thursday.
Today's Thursday. So at the end of the weekend, we will have McKenna back for Cook Islands. And in the meantime, thank y'all once again for continuing to reach out, for the support and all that. And we'll see y'all after Guatemala.